Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chicks and Salsa with a special guest, Adam. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi, Adam.
Howdy, ladies. It's kind of really great to be with y'all tonight. Talking college football. NCAA women's volleyball starting tonight, and yeah, it's kind of for you folks who don't know. I'll get a little intro about myself. I work for a major grocery store chain based out of Florida. I've been there since our store started 5.5 years ago. I'm a huge sports fan, huge entertainment fan, love classic rock and roll music, country music. I also have autism. I'm a highly functional autistic adult with ADHD. I am known as one of the biggest professional bowling fans out there. I've traveled all over the country to see the best professional bowlers in the world. And in a few weeks' time, I'm going up to Portland, Maine to go see all my friends up there. So, yeah, that's a quick rundown about me.
Nice.
Awesome.
And Adam, what podcast do you co-host?
I do a podcast with my good friend Chris Heidel called Sports Talk on Herb FM Sports Radio, and you can listen and watch on Facebook, Twitter /X, and YouTube. Our show now starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and after every single Florida State game this year, because Chris and I are huge Florida State fans, we will be doing a 1-hour wrap-up show. We did one against Georgia Tech this past Saturday, and our wrap-up show versus Boston College on Liberty Night will start at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. And we'll also have a 1-hour NFL tailgate party kickoff on opening night when the Baltimore Ravens take on the Kansas City Chiefs, who is Chris Heidel's favorite team. So, we had a good show last night, and we had a lot of coaches on breaking down some of the games, and also some broadcasters from ESPN, like Charles Arbuckle was on. We had Mike Burnup on, who covers Virginia Tech Pokey football. So, yeah, I've been with Chris now for about 3 years, and Chris and I always have a lot of fun together. And we always have fun seeing Jen when we come to Charlotte.
I love seeing you guys. Y'all are a blast.
Thank you. You are too.
Thank you. When I'm not coughing all over you, right?
Right, Jen, right. Yes, dear.
So we wanted to discuss a little bit of ACC football with you. There were 2 games you really wanted to talk about. So I'll let you take the lead on that real quick. And by the way, Candy is also covering some college games this coming weekend too. So I can't wait to hear all about that also.
Yes.
And we're going to have Chris on.
What? I'm sorry, Jen. What'd you say?
We're going to have Chris on for you since he loves the Chiefs.
Yes.
I mean, he's a man just for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
He can talk Chiefs to you.
Oh yeah, he can. Trust me. I can vouch.
Okay,
I can vouch for that. Trust me. That's a huge vouch for me.
So, Adam, why don't you tell us a little bit about the SMU Nevada game? What were your biggest takeaways?
Well, SMU, had to pull out a win in Reno against Nevada. It wasn't the easiest welcome into the ACC for the Mustangs, but they did prevail at Mackey Stadium. Quarterback Preston Stone hit R.J. Maryland with the go-ahead touchdown, and it gave R.J. Maryland he was ACC Offensive Player of the Week. And so, SMU has a very challenging schedule this year, and they open up their ACC season against defending ACC champs, Florida State, in Dallas, and that game was sold out. So should be interesting to see how Preston Stone and Coach Rettel actually do against the defending ACC champs, who did not look like the defending ACC champs Saturday in Dublin against Coach Brent Key and Georgia Tech.
And what about the other game you really wanted to talk about?
Yeah. Let's go. Well, let's see here. For you folks who don't know, Florida State and Georgia Tech opened their season in Dublin, Ireland. Georgia Tech won on a walk-off field goal, 24-21. Florida State, their defense didn't really show up. They gave up a lot of huge plays on the ground to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's quarterback Haynes King was spectacular. DJ Uyunglele, who is the Florida State quarterback, had a clean game. Didn't throw any touchdowns or interceptions, but it wasn't. I think there's a lot that Coach Norvell has to work on for the offense. Their next game is on Liberty night against Boston College at home at Del Kimball Stadium. So hopefully Florida State can have some good practices this week to get ready for the Eagles from Boston College, because last year Florida State, when they went up there to Chestnut Hill, it was not an easy game for them. They had to pull out a victory, so hopefully things will work out good for the Seminoles on Liberty night against Coach
I'm
Bill
going to
O'Brien.
disagree with you. I really want I want BC to blow it out of the water. Sorry, Candy.
Hey, yeah, it's okay with me. I'm not a Florida State
Hey,
girl.
yeah,
I like Boston College because my grandmother was the first graduating class of women from BC.
Mhm.
And I was like, I can tell it for you at this point in time, Jen. But yes, so that's why I always have such a soft spot in my heart for BC.
Yeah, it's called.
Luke.
Yeah, it's called. We had fun.
Adam, I have a question for you. So Florida State did really well last year, and they had a really good season. How many of their players are back this season?
Well, a couple players that came back on offense are running back Lawrence Toafili, who he didn't look his best in Dublin against the Yellow Jackets, and a couple good players on defense who Jen and I saw at the ACC kickoff in Charlotte are Josh Farmer and Patrick Payton, and they didn't really look like themselves in Dublin against Georgia Tech. So we'll see what happens. The defense needs to almost look like a defense last year, because from a lot of people have said Florida State has the best defensive line in college football. Well, they didn't look like it in Dublin, Ireland against Georgia Tech. So hopefully, the practices that they're going to have this week, they'll get back to what everyone's used to from last year.
Well, I can tell you this: 27 former Florida State Seminoles were included in 19 different franchises that made the 53-man rosters that cut down was today. And interestingly enough, 10 of the respective draft picks that came out of Florida State all made rosters today. So that's really good. But that tells you that they have turnover. And let's face it, any team that has turnover in college ranking, makes a big difference.
Well, and also playing in a foreign country, different time zone, everything's different. So while the games, I unfortunately did not get to see it, but the game was close. There's a lot of mitigating factors that it doesn't necessarily reflect one way or the other on the teams. I like the fact that it was a close game, that kept the audience there with them. So, I really wouldn't feel too down on your team yet, because you've got a lot of new starters. You've got, they were not stateside. So you practice all your life at stateside, and you go to a foreign country to start your first college season game. So congrats on just being able, one, to be able to do it, and two, keeping the game within reason of each other. That's got to be a win somehow.
Y'all, I'm really sorry the tow truck is coming. Do you guys mind if I jump off and I'll try to jump back on?
No, that's fine.
I'm so
go
sorry.
for it.
Adam, I'm so sorry. You know I love you. I'm sorry.
You're all good,
Those
sweetie
two,
pie.
I love it
You're all
for
good.
them. Sorry, guys.
You're all good, Jen.
Thank you.
Nope, you're fine. You're fine. So Jen had mentioned, yes, this weekend, Scott and I are headed up to the swamp. I have never been to the swamp to see the Hurricanes play the Gators. So it's kind of another in-state. It's not necessarily what I would call necessarily a rivalry, but anytime you're playing an in-state team, there's going to be
It's
some
gonna
sort of
be-
rivalry there.
It's going to be.
And it's a
in the
sold-out
person.
game, so it's exciting. I can't wait. Never been to that stadium, so it's actually, I was just saying like yesterday or the day before, that I think it's the last of the big stadiums that I haven't been to, because I've been to the Dolphins, the Jags, the Buccaneers, I've been to the Marlins, I've been to the Panthers, I've been to, USF, I've been to FAU, I've been to the Hurricanes, I've been to Florida State. We were there when the Hurricanes played them. And so this is the last of the big real stadiums for me to get to in the state. So I'm really excited.
Cool.
But she's made me think of something you need to, I would be willing to help you with. We ought to start making, I need you to send me pictures and I'll make you a reel or a little video of all the stadiums and you and Scott there. That'd be kind of fun to see and post for you. Because that in
That'd be
itself
awesome.
is kind of a neat thing. And I've got some other things that just popped in my brain that I want to talk to you about later that we can start doing with your pictures. Adam, if you've not seen any of Candy's photos,
Mhm.
she gives some of the most phenomenal pictures. So she puts herself right there in the middle of that game.
Ooh,
She has some pretty
I see.
amazing pictures.
I got to see
Thank
these
you.
for myself. It's called it. Because if you do make a video, you can send it over to me because I would love to see it. Since call from a lot of people that I've talked with, the swamp is is a very fierce place to play college football. The fans are on top of you. It's called the atmosphere is beyond crazy. So enjoy the game on Saturday, Candy. It should be a great game. These two teams normally don't play each other in football. Normally they when it comes to college baseball, they have normally it's a 3-game series every year. So it's nice to see Miami and Florida playing each other in college football.
I agree. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm ready
So
to have
Adam-
football weather and football on the TV. I don't know. This week we're back in the 90s, and this girl is built for fall, not for any of the others in spring. But fall's my jam, and
Same here. Same here. I mean,
I would say the same here, but
bring it back to y'all because I'm done with it.
it's called. I mean, I'll say this, Carrie and Candy. I was called when I was born. I was born the day before Thanksgiving, and I can say my birthday has fallen on Thanksgiving in the past. So it's like, and where I work, we've already started to sell pumpkin related, like coffee and donuts, and yes, we even have Halloween candy. So it's like a lot of people are ready for it. Yeah, it's been hot up here in the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina this summer as well. So I'm ready for a cool down and I'm ready for fall.
Yeah.
let's face it, Starbucks even brought out the pumpkin spice
Yes,
latte.
that's right. That's right, Candy. Yes, that's right. That is
Or
absolutely
at
right.
least
Yeah.
they've done
You
it.
can have the pumpkin spice, the pumpkin pies, all that. That I'm gifting that. I am not that person. I'm gifting it to the world. I'll take the apples and caramel. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, Megan will
Okay.
take the pumpkin.
I'll take pumpkin. I'll take apples too. So I'm game.
Yep. Same here. So other than the Seminoles, is there another team that you like to follow or captures your heart?
I do. I also like. I'm an all-around fan of college football. But if I had to choose another school, I like to watch. It probably since I'm I guess I would say the North Carolina Tar Heels, since I like the Tar Heels in men's college basketball. Coach Mac Brown has always had as long as he's been there, he has won a great coach, in Chapel Hill. And, when Florida State doesn't play North Carolina, I will watch the Tar Heels, and see how they do. I was hoping to see them at the ACC kickoff in Charlotte, in July this year, but I didn't get a chance to. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Coach Mac Brown and the North Carolina Tar Heels do this upcoming season.
Awesome.
See, here's me is I don't have a team, and I really get a lot of guffaw on that because I don't have a college team that I am attached to, married to. I mean, it has never been that for me. Although since I am Missouri, I will always root for MIZ. So gotta go for the zoo. But I enjoy watching the different breakout players, and I love seeing that how it is more evenly dispersed, it seems, across, and it's not all weighted on one team or one general area. So I know the conferences are all spread out now across the nation and stuff, and that makes it a little bit more amusing or interesting, but also it brings that talent coast to coast. And for a person that is a fan of the game of football, that's kind of fun for me because, I can tell you, I remember when Florida was the only place that football players came, that everybody came out of Florida to go to the NFL. So it's nice to see that kind of be spread out across and make the games more interesting to watch instead of the big blowouts all the time.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, Carrie. I like it when a game is close. It comes down to like either a walk-off touchdown or walk-off field goal. I don't like to see a team blown out because it's not a good look for college football. And
You lose interest in
I like
viewership.
when it's a close game. That's when I really get excited.
Now, see, this is going to date me. I was a fan of the Big Eight, and then
Yes,
we became.
I remember the Big Eight.
As a spirit, but I have two siblings that went to school at Oklahoma State, and I got to see Battle of the Bethlehem twice at OSU. That is something. This little farm girl, country girl, was intense. It was extreme. It was awesome, and it's something. I'm talking. This has been decades back, but still something that you just never get to, unless you get to experience an extreme rivalry like that in person. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, I can vouch for this. Where I live in the Smoky Mountains, North Carolina, we have a huge rivalry in high school football. A lot of people call it the Battle of Haywood County, North Carolina, the Paper Bowl. It's like the rivalry is Tuscola High School, which high school I went to here in Waynesville, North Carolina, versus Pisgah High School in Canton, North Carolina. And when those two schools get together, no matter what sport it is. Hi, Chris. So it's like, so when these two schools get together, it doesn't matter what sport. It is an intense rivalry, especially at the football game, because that week half the county's for Tuscola, black and gold, half the county is for Pisgah High School, red and black, and it's family member against family member, friend against friend, church member versus church member. The 50-50 raffle can sometimes go as high as overall $50,000. So it's like I've seen, I've been a part of the rivalry since I was a softball manager for my junior and senior year at Tuscola High School, and I was basketball manager my sophomore year. So I've experienced it, personally. So it's the only high school football game I go to every year, since I have a lot of friends that are usually there, and I will wear my black and gold. I will cheer on for Tuscola. In the last 2 years, Tuscola has come out on top in this rivalry, so we're looking to go 3 in a row in Canton, North Carolina in October. So I will be there in my black and gold, have no voice at the end, and just have a good time, hang with friends, and enjoy myself.
And Adam, this is probably something, well, I know you don't know because we just met tonight, but I'm originally from Wisconsin. So I am a Wisconsin Badgers Big Ten, Big Ten, right? Really Big Ten anymore?
Yes.
Schoolgirl. But what I will say is, for anybody that is a fan of football, if you have not gone to a college football stadium and seen a game, you haven't experienced it, because going to an NFL game, I'm going to tell you, is one thing, but the fans don't get into the team like they do for any college team. And I don't care what college it is. Obviously I've gone to many games. I've been to Ohio State, the Horseshoe. I've been to the Big House in Michigan, Wisconsin. I can tell you, Scott went to a game with me there, and he was up in the press box, and he thought there was an earthquake happening when jump around, which is their tradition, and they start jumping around in the stands. The whole stands were shaking, and he's like, what's going on? What's going on? Is the sky falling? Is the sky falling? But I mean, like going to Florida State game the other day, last year when they were doing the acts, like the atmosphere is it's so fun, and you can't experience it just watching it on TV. You really have to go to a college game and experience it firsthand.
Yeah, it's called last year. Last year, Chris and I were at the ACC football championship game in Charlotte between Louisville and Florida State, and I mean, you could hear the fans doing the tomahawk chop in the press box, and it was like you thought you were at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, Florida, not Charlotte, North Carolina. And it was like, I was like, wow. I've seen that on TV for so many years, going back to when ABC Sports had college football with legendary broadcasters Keith Jackson and Brett Musburger, when they would call games, Florida State games from Doak Campbell Stadium. It's like, I saw it in person, and it was like, oh my gosh, you think you were in Tallahassee. It was crazy. It was amazing. And it's an experience I'll never forget for my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool that you got to do that.
Yeah.
I'm a wee bit jealous. Well, maybe a little bit more than we, but that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love where I live because I don't have the rustle and bustle of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
We were out on the East Coast this last January, and to me, I was watching as we were driving, and we were leaving countryside, and you could just feel like living, and it was a very intense feeling and a very wild feeling to see the housing and how everything was just people on top of people on top of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that here. There's too many people, but it's not people on top of people here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not close to any game per se. It's going to be a trip wherever I go, right, to see it. But the experience is well worth it. Mizzou is 2.5 hour drive from my house, so yeah, definitely when you get a chance to do something that spectacular, take the opportunity.
Oh yeah.
And Gary, you're in Missouri. I know all about the Kansas-Missouri rivalry when it comes to basketball. I know all about the Illinois-Missouri rivalry game they have every year. So it's like, I understand. I understand it. So it's like I know how intense it is when it comes to basketball. For Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois, Missouri. So I get it.
I have siblings that went to Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
I have cousins and an uncle that graduated from OU. And so we've got that in the family. I have a cousin that graduated from KU, and then of course, if you live in Missouri, you just don't like Kansas. I mean, that's just
Nope, that is true. That's definitely true.
As you're born, you have to sign a little waiver saying, "No, I won't like Kansas." No, I'm joking, but yeah. So never, I will not ever root for KU. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Hey, I get it. I get it, Carrie. I get it. Like I said, I get it. I know all about the rivalries. I watch plenty of Bedlam events, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, softball. I understand all the rivalries, and it's not, I understand about the UCLA Arizona rivalry. I know all, yes, I will stay awake till like 1:00 in the morning, watch college football. It's like, I will say this, I do miss the Pac-12, even though it's Pac-2 with Oregon State and Washington State, but I remember watching, UCLA and Cal, you always battled out. I remember I'm glad the Washington State rivalry is still happening, even though they're in different conferences. But it's these rivalries that get everyone going in it, and now with Oklahoma in the SEC and Oklahoma State in, still in the Big 12,
It'll still be.
they're not playing college football game this year, and it's
so
sad.
extreme.
And it's
I think they'll still have the Battle of the Bedlam. I still believe that, just because it's such entrenched with history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
and there'll be new rivalries will form too within some of these leagues. Like, let's face it, who would have thought the national championship, Washington against Michigan, would now be playing in a conference game to start the year?
It's crazy. And and you ladies know it's about the good old American dollar. I mean, who would have thought, we would see no more Pac-12, or I go back to when it was the Pac-10. No, it's no more. I mean that over 100-year history is gone. And it's like, I never would have thought it's the Oklahoma and Texas during the SEC, and Stanford and Cal in the ACC, and Oregon and Washington and UCLA and USC now in the Big Ten. It don't make sense. But it's all about the good old American dollar. And it's like, I feel for all these student athletes, from on the West Coast have to fly back and forth, and, they have classes to go to, and, most of their teachers probably want them in school instead of online classes. And it's like, it takes it. It'll take a toll on all these West Coast student athletes having to go back and forth.
It will, Adam, but I don't feel as bad for them now with all that NIL money that some of them are making.
Oh, that's true. That's true, Candy. Yeah. Who would have thought we would? I think that's why Nick Saban left Alabama, was because of the NIL. It's like, I've often wondered this, and I've talked about this with Chris in the past. If the NIL were around when Bobby Bowden was around, Steve Spurrier was around, some of these legendary coaches, from the 80s, 90s, how would they reacted, to the transfer portal and the NIL? It's crazy.
I don't think there would have been the history and the pomp and the love, the hatred. I don't think the emotions would have been as strong in those, from what that era inspires or brings to mind. I don't think it would be as intense as it is. Because I'm interested to see how this plays out down the road. We did a show last year about the transfer portal and the NIL, and how coaches were leaving because instead of being able to coach for, or to recruit for a small time of the year, they're recruiting 12 months a year, and it's time away from their family. So that we kind of highlight the fact that there was coaches stepping away from the profession because family has to, their family life had to come before the money in their pocket. So, there's a lot. I think that has a lot to do, and I think we'll see a lot of that play out. Probably was Saban decided that this was a good time to exit stage left and pursue something else, because it's going to be a legacy changer.
No. And, yeah, I mean, we'll say, Kalen, new coach at Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, it'll take time for him, to get, used to everything in Tuscaloosa. I mean, look at what Mike Norvell went through. It's called, he came from Memphis, and it took time for him, it took him 3 years, to get where he is now in Florida State. And it's like, I mean, it's not just going to happen in 1 year. I mean, I think, once Kalen DeBoer gets used to the SEC and, how crazy of a conference that is, I think Alabama, will return again as a team you don't want to face. But as y'all know, the SEC right now, it goes through Athens, Georgia. And I think it's going to continue for, at least for a couple of years.
So Adam, let's switch to, there is a sport that's starting tonight. You said that you would like to cover too. So tell us a little bit about that. Yes,
I do. Tonight, the NCAA women's volleyball season gets going. There's a couple of games taking place at the KFC Yum Center in Louisville, Kentucky. Right now on ESPN2, you have Kentucky versus Nebraska, and after that is Wisconsin versus Louisville. And I'll tell you all a couple teams you need to keep your eye on out for. Obviously, right now the number one team in the country is the University of Texas after winning the national championship last year. Now they're in the SEC, so the ACC always has some talented schools. Pittsburgh was in the national in the Final Four last year. Stanford's now in the ACC, coming over from the Pac-12, and they always had a history with excellent women's college volleyball teams. Louisville, Wisconsin, Nebraska. And I will say this, it was really cool last year to see the University of Nebraska women's volleyball team held a game at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. And
yes,
I mean, it's like, why can't we have that at least once a year? I mean,
I bet that's something that you start seeing more of.
Well, yeah, it's called,
it's like just the attention on women's sports.
Yes.
Across the board.
Yes.
The fact that the Olympics were 50-50 for the first time ever, for, delegates, and even almost the same to the worldwide stage as well, that it was nearly 50-50 there as well. So I think that you're going to start seeing that. I think you'll see that we'll see more of those type of exhibition type situations to bring even more attention and capture more audience.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of
Yeah. Now for me, Alabama softball and Tennessee softball have always had a significant history. I'd like to see an Alabama softball game, home game at Bryant-Denny Stadium, or a Tennessee softball game at Neyland Stadium, or maybe even Arizona softball game, at their home football stadium. I think it'd be kind of cool. But there's one other thing I want to talk about. And, he then lives outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And as we all know, Charlotte is home, it's a huge thing for motorsports. And if y'all didn't know this, a couple weeks ago, history was made in a series called the Automobile Racing Club of America Menard Series. It is a Midwestern-based stock car series. And there's a team called Venturi Motorsports. And a couple weeks ago, they had a race at the Springfield Mile, which is a dirt track. And they had 4 female drivers on the team. Tony Breidinger was one of them, Amber Balkin, and 2 others. And they actually finished. All 4 females finished in the top 10. Nice. First time it's ever happened in the Automobile Racing Club of America series, and they've been around for a very, very long time. So it women in motorsports haven't always, gotten the respect that they deserve. I think we all can remember when Danica Patrick was racing in the IndyCar series. Yeah, she won only one race in her career. It was in Japan, and then she went over to NASCAR. And there have been so many women in motorsports drivers, in history. Janet Guthrie, Shirley Muldowney, in drag racing, Shauna Robinson in NASCAR, Lynn St. James in IndyCar, and they really haven't gotten, the credit that they deserve. So it was pretty cool to see 4 female drivers finish in the top 10 in a stock car race on a dirt track in Springfield, Illinois, a couple weeks ago.
Hey, Adam, it has been a very fast 30 minutes. We've got to let Miss Candy get off our show to go produce another show.
Okay.
Is this one the pigskin?
Yeah, inside the pigskin. Yep.
Okay, so what this just says is you must come back on so we can have another night with, and we'll make sure Jen's here, and hopefully Megan will be
Sure.
able to jump on.
I'm game, and I'd let y'all know where you guys can find me. You can find me on Herb FM Sports Radio, on the show Sports Talk with Chris Heidel every Monday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be doing a 1-hour wrap-up show after Boston College, Florida State at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, and our NFL tailgate show. We'll kick off the NFL season on September. I believe it is on September 5th, and we'll do a 1-hour pregame show from 6 to 7, previewing the Baltimore Ravens taking on Patrick Mahomes and the defending Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs. So thank y'all so much for having me. So I can say go Chiefs, for you, Carrie, and for Chris.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Adam.
Share your upcoming shows on 3 Chicks in a Pod, so Facebook, so our friends can see that and get to follow you and Chris as well. Okay.
Thank you very much for having me, ladies. Y'all have a good night, and don't worry, folks. I'll be back on again at a later date. So until then, thanks y'all for having me.
Sounds good. Thank you, Adam. We miss Megan and Jen. She was on for just a little bit, but we'll catch you guys all next week. Have a great week.
For a preview. See you all next week.
See y'all later.